Hi everyone, welcome to the last and final video of Dutch and Afrikaans. In this video we will go through each of the 10 sample words and see if we can apply the rules we have learned to these words. So yeah, let's just start writing the words down and just going through their pronunciations and definitions just to recap once again. So word number 1 was hogars. 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 And if you remember, this was a type of Dutch sled. Okay, so it's a type of Dutch sled. All right, word number 2 is rijstafel. 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 And it's basically, remember, we noticed the rye sort of look like the word rice. It's a meal of rice. Yeah, just a meal of rice. Okay, word number 3 was boedelhouder. Boedelhouder, which is Boedelhouder. And this one looks like it's, made up of two parts, boodle and houder, and basically it's an administrator of community property. So remember we mentioned the ER usually stands for or means a person who does something, and this is very similar to that. So it's an administrator of community property, boedelhouder. Alright, word number 4 was galjoen. Galjoen. Galjoen, and it's a type of fish used for food and sport. Okay, so galjoen. Alright, word number 5 was berghaan. Berghaan. We looked at it as one of our example words, and berghaan is basically a South African eagle. Okay, berghaan. Okay, word number 6 was Uitlander. 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 And it was basically a foreigner. Remember we were able to see sort of the words outlander in there. So literally it means foreigner. And yeah, very similar to an English word outlander. So that's Uitlander. Okay, now we have vetkosie. Vetkosie, which is Vetkoussie. And vetkosie is basically a type of marigold. Okay, it's a flower, so vetkosie is a flower of marigold. So vetkosie. Word number 8 was maishond or maishond, pronounced both ways. Maishond or maishond, M-U-I-S-H-O-N-D. And it's a type of weasel. Okay, so we've got an animal there, weasel. Alright, now we have word number 9, which was platteland. Platteland, P-L-A-T-T-E-L-A-N-D. Platteland. And basically that's a isolated rural section of South Africa, and you can see the word maybe plateau and land in there, and it has to do with those things generally. So it's isolated rural section of South Africa. And word number 10 is Bokmakierie. Bokmakierie. B-O-K-M-A-K-I-E-R-I-E. Bokmakierie. So these are our 10 words from Dutch and Afrikaans. A lot of these words, actually I think all of these words have Dutch in them. Some of them pass through Afrikaans. So like I said in the first video, Dutch and Afrikaans are so interrelated that most Dutch words, or most Afrikaans words have gone through Dutch. So we can treat all of these as Dutch words, and very similar to Afrikaans as well. Some of them have actually gone through Afrikaans. So again, it's sort of hard to distinguish between these two languages, and that's the reason we're doing them together. Alright, so let's start off by looking at the rules and applying them to each and every word. Starting with the first word, hogars. Let's choose a nice color to use. Alright, so hogars. First of all, we have our H, which is normal for the H sound. If you remember, we said the long O sound in Dutch. The long O sound, if it's from Afrikaans especially, has that OO. In Dutch, it's O in the middle, and it's OE at the end. But Afrikaans, you have that OO, and that's why that's there, the hogars. That's why the double O makes the long O sound. Okay, so we talked about briefly how the G, the hard G sound, will be spelled with the G, as is the guttural K sound is always spelled with the G as well. The hard G sound is spelled with the G always too. Okay, we cannot, you know, overestimate how common the double A is in Dutch and Afrikaans. Remember, the two A's are, it's the standard spelling for the ah sound, and it's very common, and it's in this word. And then R and S are just normal to finish it off. Okay, so that's hogars. Hogars. Okay, let's go to the next word, Rijstafel. I think I'll change colors here to keep things interesting. Okay, so the word is Rijstafel, and as we've mentioned, the R is going to be normal. Remember, in Dutch, the long I sound is almost nearly, it's very oftenly spelled IJ. Okay, and that's one of those tricky things about Dutch, but it's very common and it's very characteristic of Dutch that it should be spelled like that. So IJ for the I sound. S is normal. Now, the thing that throws a lot of spellers off is that there's two T's in this word, which is very rare, especially in this sense, because it doesn't look right. It doesn't, it doesn't seem like that's what it is. But remember, Dutch does have a lot of double letters, and sometimes letters are doubled, and this is one area where the T is doubled. So even though it looks weird, it kind of follows the rule because it's doubled. Okay, here we have our A with two dots again, the ah sound. Remember, AA is standard, but O and A are very much possible as well. And this is an example where just the letter A is used. Okay? Okay, now here's a bit of an exception. We have the F sound, and we said that words with the F sound are spelled with a V, and that was the only spelling we gave, but you gotta realize there are sometimes exceptions. This word, it's not just purely Dutch, so that's why we have an F here instead of a V, which I know is it's not common, and it's more of an exception, so we should put that here. It's an exception to the rule. And there's always exceptions to the rule, so you kind of have to know the word. This is a tricky word in general, so it's a very good word. And then EL to finish it off. It's pretty normal. It kind of mirrors German rules. If you remember, in German we said a lot of words end in EL or ER, and this is just like that. Rijstafel. So the schwa is an E. Remember, the schwa we said could be A, E, O, or U. In this case, it's part of the blend of EL, and that's why it's spelled, with an E. The schwa is. Okay, that was word number 2. Now we're going to go on to Boedelhouder. Sort of like German. Remember, German has a lot of compound words. Dutch does as well, so we're going to break this up in two parts, Boedel and Houder. Boedel, B is normal. Remember we said the U with two dots, the oo sound, the standard spelling in Dutch is OE. And that's where that comes in. That's why that's an OE. D is normal. Again, we have that EL sort of for the ending of a part of a word or a word, as we saw in the last word. And that's why that E is represents the schwa. Now, the second part of the word, the H is normal for the H. The ow sound. Remember the ow sound? We kind of treated it as a consonant, and we said that the ow sound, if it's in the middle of the word, it's going to be spelled with an OU. If it's at the end of the word, it's going to be spelled with an OUW, but because this is in the middle, we spell it with an OU. And then D is normal, and then that ER ending, sort of, just like just like German, the EL-ER ending is very common. So that's why we have Boedelhouder. Okay, word number 4 is galjoen. It's a very good word. First of all, we see the G sound, so we know it's going to be spelled with the G. Our A sound is always spelled with an A, which we saw. L is normal. remember the ya sound, the J represents the Y in Dutch and Afrikaans. It's a very common typical letter representing the ya sound, and it's in use here. The J represents a lot of different sounds in different languages. In English, it's obviously ja. In French, it's more ja, sort of like a ZH sound. In Spanish, it's h for the H sound. And in Dutch, it represents the ya sound, the Y sound. So we have that here. And just as we saw before, we have the U sound, the U with 2 dots. And because that's in the middle of the word, we're going to use the OE for the U sound. So galjoen, we have that OE for the U sound, and N is normal just to finish it off. Okay, so that's galjoen. Okay, now we're going to go on to word number 5, which is bergaan. It has that guttural K in it. So, we mentioned that part of the word before. So let's take a look at the beginning. Our B is normal. We didn't really cover the short E sound in E because it's so rare, but if you ever run into it, it's going to be just an E normal, just how you'd expect. Plus, you have that ER, which we've already seen a lot so far right now. Okay, so the guttural K we said is always going to be spelled with the G. Okay, so the G represents the ch sound that we have there. And so we can also break this word up into 2 parts, basically, the bech part and then the han part. The H represents the h sound, which is normal. Remember, the J will represent the ya sound, but the H will represent the h sound. Our double A here for the A with 2 dots. Remember, that's the standard way to spell it, and that's going to be the most common way to spell it. So we have our double A there, and our N just to finish it off. Okay, so that's bergaan, bergaan. Okay, word number 6 is Uitlander, which we've talked about how it's similar to Outlander, and precisely the definition as well. So first of all, remember we said the long A sound is spelled several ways, actually. Remember, in Dutch, it's going to be spelled E or Y most of the time, but if it has gone through Afrikaans, there were 4 different ways to spell it. There was EY, A, EI, and UI, and this is an example where UI is used for that sound. Okay, so that's why we have the A. The T is normal. Again, we can break this word up into 2 parts. Eight and lander is very, very similar to what we've seen. The A for the short A sound, A, ND is a common ending, L is a just a common letter, and that ER ending, which we've already seen so much. So that's Uitlander, and again, it means a foreigner. All right, word number 7 is vetkosie, the type of flower, the marigold. Remember, the F sound is mostly going to be spelled with a V, so that's why we have the V there. Our E is going to be with an E. T is normal. Remember, the K sound, just the K sound, it's going to be spelled with a K. If there's an S before it, making the SK sound, then it's going to be SCH. But because this K does not have an S before it, you can spell it normally with a K. Okay? And then we have our O sound, the long O sound. Remember that typically it's going to be spelled either an O, an OE, or if it's from Afrikaans, an OO. Here, it's OU, and that's why this is a bit of an exception. And I like to put the exception words as our sample words because, it's good to learn the exceptions just in case they're thrown at you in a spelling bee. So this is an exception. Again, Dutch is pretty hard to say which ones are exceptions because there's so many words with exceptions, and they don't follow their rules 100%. So again, in this word, the OU represents the O sound, which isn't very typical, but we can't say it's unexpected. Alright, the S, remember it's going to be S, just normal. And then remember we mentioned the long E sound towards the end of words are mostly always going to be spelled IE, because that's a very common ending of Dutch words. And this SIE ending is common as well. I just keep on thinking of the World Cup players' names from different countries. Dutch player Van Persie has SIE in his name, and that's very typical of Dutch, and this word has that as well. All right. Okay, so word number 8 is a very good word, maishaunt and maishaunt, pronounced both ways. It's always important to ask for that language of origin, so you know the rules, but it's also equally as important to ask for that alternate pronunciation, just to hear the different ways it's spelled, because that can give you a lot of insight into how a word is spelled. So here we have maishaunt and maishaunt. If we use the rule going by I, the long I sound, we would be tempted to use IJ. But because we have that alternate pronunciation that tells us that, it could be maishaunt as well, that's why we can use the UI, just like we did with Eightlander, that same UI. So again, here the second pronunciation helps, maishaunt. That's why we have the UI. The M is normal. We can break this up into two parts. This S and H don't blend together. They don't make the sh sound. They don't. So that's why they're separate. So we have maishaunt. So our S is normal. H for the h sound. The ah, remember the A with two dots can be AA. That's the most common way to spell it, but O and A are equally as good. And here you're using the O. N is normal. And in Dutch, the t sound, the T sound at the end of the word is going to be spelled with a D. Just like German. Exactly like German. So that's why this is pronounced maishaunt and maishaunt. And it's a type of weasel. So remember that D is very important at the end. If you hear the t at the end of a Dutch word or Afrikaans word, use the D. As we'll see in the next word, word number 9, platteland. So let's take a quick look at platteland. First of all, PL, just a common blend, as you'd expect. Then we have the A with two dots. Here we're going to use that second spelling A, or that third spelling, depending on how you look at it. Remember, AA is standard, but A and O are equally as good, and here we're using A. If you recognize by the definition, it's an isolated rural section. If you recognize the word plateau or something in there, then you know it's going to be an A, because you know how to spell plateau. So it's using those senses of everything you can get from the word, the alternate pronunciation, the definition, the language of origin, or language of origins, or languages of origin. I mean, there's more than one language. The part of speech can help. So all these information about one word can help you. And here, knowing the definition could tip you off that this is an A. Alright, the T is doubled. Remember, Dutch has a lot of double letters, and here the T is doubled. E for the schwa. Remember, we said that the schwa could be A, E, O, or U. So far, we've seen a lot of E's for the schwa, like right here and right here. So we have that again. We can break this word up into two parts if you want to think about it like that. And lant is similar to like the word Eightlander. The L, just like the word land. So the L is normal. Looking further, the A is A here, just like it is at the beginning of the word. N is normal, and that D for the T sound at the end, platteland. Okay? Alright, now we're down to our final word, Bokmakiri. Again, it's a type of bird, and let's just take a look at it really fast. Bokmakiri. Start with the B. The B is a normal way to spell it, just how you would think about it, B. The A, the A with two dots sound, is made with an O here. So far we've seen all three of the spellings in use. We've seen the double A, we've seen the A, and we've seen the O. So that just shows how various it is, and how one isn't better than the other. So here it's O. Remember, the K is going to be spelled with a K unless there's an S behind it, in which case it's SCH, but here it's going to be K. M is normal. Here the schwa is an A because it's Bokmakiri. So the schwa is an A. Again, we have that K for the K sound. And we know Dutch loves its IEs for the E sound, just like German. We've seen with vetkosi, lots of words end in that IE, and this word ends in it for sure. And it also has it in the middle, because that spelling combination can appear in the middle as well. And the R is normal. So Bokmakiri. Alright, so these are our 10 words from Dutch and Afrikaans. Just to sum up this language, it does have its own rules, special rules, which it might not follow all of the time, but most words certainly do follow those rules. Lots of words don't. So whenever in doubt, you can either use your intuition, obviously, use all that information that you get about the word, language of origin, definition, alternate pronunciation, use all that to your advantage. And if you're really stuck, then I would advise sort of using the German rule, for the words, because Dutch and Afrikaans are so similar to German. So if you're not sure, go ahead and use that German rule, and you'll probably be fine most of the time. But other than that, once you spend some time with Dutch and Afrikaans words, the rules will be more obvious. They'll start popping out at you, and it's definitely not that bad. These two languages are not very common for providing spelling bee words, so not much to worry there. So it's been a nice journey with these two languages, and I hope to see you in the next video when we'll start a new language. See you then!